Hi everyone, it's me, 𝑻𝒉𝒆. Today is Saturday, September 21st, 2024. This video is dedicated to my beloved, and the topic of this video is going to be about how giving your heart away to somebody or something always requires courage because of the risk of loss that is associated with it. So today I wanted to share something that I read in this book that I've been reading, The Road Less Traveled, A New Psychology of Love, Traditional Values, and Spiritual Growth by the psychiatrist 𝑚. Peck, MD. So while I was reading this book this morning, I started a subsection that was titled The Risk of Loss, and this is the first page of that subsection. And I wanted to go ahead and read aloud a large portion of that subsection for you, so here it goes. The risk of loss. The act of love, extending oneself, as I have said, requires a moving out against the inertia of laziness, work, or the resistance engendered by fear, courage. Let us turn now from the work of love to the courage of love. When we extend ourselves, our self enters new and unfamiliar territory, so to speak. Our self becomes a new and different self. We do things we are not accustomed to do. We change. The experience of change, of unaccustomed activity, of being on unfamiliar ground, of doing things differently is frightening. It always was and always will be. People handle their fear of change in different ways, but the fear is inescapable if they are in fact to change. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the making of action in spite of fear, the moving out against the resistance engendered by fear, into the unknown and into the future. On some level, spiritual growth, and therefore love, always requires courage and involves risk. It is the risking of love that we will now consider. If you are a regular churchgoer, you might notice a woman in her late 40s who every Sunday, exactly 5 minutes before the start of the service, inconspicuously takes the same seat in a side pew on the aisle at the very back of the church. The moment the service is over, she quietly but quickly makes for the door and is gone before any of the other parishioners, and before the minister can come out onto the steps to meet with his flock. Should you manage to accost her, which is unlikely, and invite her to the coffee social hour following the service, she would thank you politely, nervously looking away from you, but tell you that she has a pressing engagement, and would then dash away. Were you to follow her toward her pressing engagement, you would find that she returns directly to her home, a little apartment where the blinds are always drawn, unlocks her door, enters, immediately locks the door behind her, and is not seen again that Sunday. If you could keep watch over her, you might see that she has a job as a low-ranking typist in a large office, where she accepts her assignments wordlessly, types them faultlessly, and returns her finished work without comment. She eats her lunch at her desk and has no friends. She walks home, stopping always at the same impersonal supermarket for a few provisions before she vanishes behind her door until she appears again for the next day's work. On Saturday afternoons, she goes alone to a local movie theater that has a weekly change of shows. She has a TV set. She has no phone. She almost never receives mail. Were you somehow able to communicate with her and comment that her life seemed lonely, she would tell you that she rather enjoyed her loneliness. If you asked her if she didn't even have any pets, she would tell you that she had a dog of whom she was very fond, but that he had died 8 years before and no other dog could take his place. Who is this woman? We do not know the secrets of her heart. What we do know is that her whole life is devoted to avoiding risks, and that in this endeavor, rather than enlarging herself, she has narrowed and diminished it almost to the point of non-existence. She cathects no other living thing. Now we have said that simple cathexis is not love, that love transcends cathexis. This is true, but love requires cathexis for a beginning. We can love only that which in one way or another has importance for us. But with cathexis, there is always the risk of loss or rejection. If you move out to another human being, there is always the risk that that person will move away from you, leaving you more painfully alone than you were before. Love anything that lives, a person, a pet, a plant, and it will die. Trust anybody and you may be hurt. Depend on anyone and that one may let you down. The price of cathexis is pain. If someone is determined not to risk pain, then such a person must do without many things, having children, getting married, the hope of ambition, friendship, all that makes life alive, meaningful, and significant. Move out or grow in any dimension, and pain as well as joy will be your reward. A full life will be full of pain, but the only alternative is not to live fully or not to live at all. So that is what I wanted to read to you from this book today. And I thought that those words in those paragraphs were so meaningful and teach us that if we don't risk our heart and give it out to anyone or anything at all, then we don't really live. And although there is a huge risk associated with giving our heart away to something or someone, whether it's another person or a pet, like a dog, or even a plant, or some hope or dream that you have, or ambition that you have, like working toward a big goal, such as for me, that was working toward graduating from medical school. Whenever you give your heart away or a part of yourself away to somebody or something, and you invest yourself in somebody or something, there's always this risk associated with that, this feeling that perhaps it might not work out, and perhaps that person or that thing might get away from you or leave you. And in terms of like living things like human beings and dogs and pets and plants even, these things always die. Living things always die one day, so you're ultimately going to have to say goodbye to that person or that pet. And even when you're investing yourself in a particular endeavor, like graduating from a certain program or chasing after a certain dream, there's always the risk that it might not work out and that all of your efforts might be going to waste and be taken away from you. But if we don't risk anything at all, if we don't try, then we never know. We'll never know. We'll take away from ourselves the opportunity to even have the chance to have that thing or experience that thing that we want to experience, whether with another person or with a pet or with some goal that we have, some dream that we have. And we end up like the woman in that passage who didn't ever experience anything and led a boring existence because she never tried, she never went out of her comfort zone. And I think this message relates a lot to something that I shared in one of my other recent videos, which was titled Expansion Through Courage. If we never go out of our comfort zone and risk ourselves and risk being embarrassed or wasting our time or perhaps potentially wasting our efforts on somebody or something, we'll never know. And it's better to try than to not try at all. And I think that this is a very important lesson for all of us to learn and to apply in our daily lives. And it's better to risk yourself than to avoid living. And in order to live fully, you have to have courage and you have to accept that there's a chance that things might not work out for you or for the other person or for the dream that you have. It might not work out, but we should try anyway. Because at the end of the day, and this is a quote related to a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, at the end of the day, our life is just a series of experiments, and we just keep trying and failing and trying again and failing again, or just keep trying until you get the thing that you want. And it's ultimately all a huge experiment for you to try every day. So that is my message today about the risk of loss associated with giving your heart away to somebody or something. And I wanted to let you know that you should not be afraid. Even if there's a risk of loss associated with giving your heart away, don't be afraid. Be brave and be courageous in giving your heart to something or someone that you really want to. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my video today, and I'd like to wish you a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, or whatever it is, wherever you are in the world.